morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners to order. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the open board minutes of January 16th, 2013.
I move approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Colonel Turner was not at the meeting, so she's abstained. The next item is the report of the board president, and you'll be happy to know I have no report. So we will move directly to the report of our purchasing member.
Thank you, Colonel Irwin. The following items are presented in the bid packet that you have received, and copies of these packets are available for public review on the table in the front of the room. Included in this packet are any disclaimers regarding board members' business and family relations. The first items on the agenda are the bid items. We have 6 items listed, and I move approval of those 6 items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The second group are sole source requests. There are 8 items listed, and I move approval for those 8 items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is an item for continuation of a previous bid with Network Services and Support, and I move approval for that one continuation of previous bid item.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Next item is one item for a continuation of a previous contract with law enforcement accreditation, and I move approval of that one item.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next, I have approval for 2 items for cooperating contracts with Chevrolet Silverados and Duplex Printing, and I move approval of those items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item is increase to previous purchase orders. There are a total of 10 items listed, and I move approval of those 10 items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The last item is for ratification of an item that received early approval between meetings. This is, I think, the first implementation of the policy we adopted last meeting, in which, with my recommendation, Colonel Gray approved an interim item, and which dealt with a communication system, which was very important, and we didn't want to wait till this meeting. So I ask for approval, I ask for ratification of that one item.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that completes my report.
Thank you, Colonel Switzer. The next item on the agenda is the report of the Chief of Police. Chief?
Good morning, Colonels. How are you?
Fine.
Thanks.
I'd like to start this morning with a contribution and a donation from Pinnacle Entertainment and Lumiere Place Casino and Hotels. Anybody that looks at the downtown skyline, especially at night, has seen that Lumiere and Pinnacle has become an icon in the skyline. Today, they're here reinforcing their commitment to the City of St. Louis, their customers, and the Metropolitan Police Department with their first of 5 installments of $100,000. That's $500,000 over the next 5 years to support our efforts in hotspot policing in the downtown area and the areas immediately adjacent. So before I ask for the acceptance of the donation, I'd like Jeff Babinski, who is their Vice President and General Manager of Lumiere Place, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Dotson. Commissioners, it's an honor to be here. Lumiere Place has been an important part of St. Louis since 2007, and this past December, we made a number of significant contributions to help promote the growth and safety of our downtown area. One of them being the $500,000 that Chief Dotson just mentioned that we're going to pay over the next 5 years to help with those hot spots that he mentioned. We're very proud to be a part of this city. We look to ensure that this city continues to grow and that it's a safe safe place for our guests, our team members, and everyone who visits our great city. And it is an honor to actually present this check to you guys and to Chief Dotson. We couldn't do it alone. It's what Chief Dotson, Captain Ken Cagle, and the men and women who put the uniform on day in and day out to help protect this great city of ours. I can't thank you enough, and this is just our way of showing thanks, and we look forward to many great things in this city. So again, thank you, and it is our honor to present this check to you guys.
Jeff, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Board of Police Commissioners for this extraordinarily generous contribution to the department. And I know Lumiere has also made a significant contribution to City Arch River, which is near and dear to my heart, so thank you for that as well.
You're welcome. It is our pleasure.
Yeah, I'd like to also thank you. As a result of, this actually came as a result of an agreement we had with Pinnacle with respect to their development, which has been spectacular in quality in and of itself. And this donation is going to go a long way to improve safety in that segment of the city, and certainly want to thank you for this contribution and for all the other generous contributions you've made to our community.
And thank you for your leadership and guidance.
Well, since you brought the check, I can ask the board to accept the donation of $100,000 now.
I move that we accept the check.
And I will certainly second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again, Jeff.
Great, Colonels. Now we will move on to the crime report. As we start 2013, we've seen an increase in all crime categories compared to this time last year. January to January, we've seen an increase. I think it's important as we go through the next couple of slides that we talk about January of 2012 or historic crime lows that we have not seen in many, many years. And we've talked about the lowest crime level since 1970s. Just for a little reassurance, although these percentage increases are great, January of 2013 was the second lowest January we had in recent history, compared only to January of 2012. So we're comparing ourselves to some very good numbers. I thought the next slide would be important if we go back to 2006 to see a comparison. I think you have to look at crime in a long-term trend and not just year-to-year or month-to-month comparisons. As you see, we are significantly lower. If we go back to 2006, January, just talking about January, 2006 to 2013, there were 1,439 fewer crimes this January than there were going back to 2006, which was the highest in that period. Just to show you that the downward trend, we are sloped in a downward trajectory. I'm also encouraged by some of the activities that we've done that we'll talk about in a minute. Hotspot policing in the College Hill neighborhood, some other initiatives that we are seeing some positive impact in February numbers, and I hope that trend continues through the entire month. Next slide, just as a comparison, citywide Part 1 crime, same on a graph. So you can see blue line is person crime, green line is property crime, and again, red line is total crime. So we're in that downward slope through January with a slight uptick in 13. How crimes are distributed through the 3 patrol divisions. Most areas are seeing an increase, but again, the numbers are relatively small. And again, going into February, we're seeing some of those percentage increases reduced, and I'm encouraged by that through our targeted hotspot policing, which we're going to talk about in just a second. How are the crimes dispersed? We're all very aware that there was an increase in homicides in January that caused us to mobilize resources in the College Hill neighborhood, along with other places throughout the city. Rape is an interesting conversation. I've told the board and written about it several times that the UCR definition of rape has been expanded to include same-sex along with other crimes. We expect to see a 100% increase in that category, not because of an increase in crimes, but because of better reporting and understanding the victimology better. But rape will continue to be up through the entire year, but again, that allows us to deliver better services and help people that have been victimized. And if we talk about the other crimes, larceny is a challenge. We arrested an individual selling license plate tabs. When he was arrested, he had 77 license plate tabs in his possession. Those represented larcenies. We've seen an increase in license plate theft and license plate tab theft. We're hoping with the arrest of that individual along with others that we're going to able to curb that number. The increases are in a variety of areas throughout the city, north, central, and south, and we've got some targeted enforcement strategies that we're hoping to bring that number down, and again, I've seen some positive movement there. College Hills Initiative. This was our first chance to really put hotspot policing in its new form in place. What we did was we took targeted resources and put them in a very defined area for a very specific period of time and saw an 89% drop in crime in that area when we compare year-to-date the week before to during and after the event. So that College Hill neighborhood was up 375% compared to the previous years. We saw an 89% drop because of our targeted resources in there. What is encouraging is that we made 40 arrests during that time and recovered 5 guns from that area. The arrest ranged from UUW charges, drug charges, and individuals that were wanted for serious crimes, robberies and assaults. So of those 40 arrests, we think that we've done a great impact into that neighborhood. But as I've said previously, enforcement, police operations is only a piece of that. So today at 8 a.m., we started Phase 2 in the College Hill neighborhood. And Phase 2 involves our partnership with City Services. We've taken our problem property officers, our community outreach officers, and directed them in that neighborhood along with the Buildings Division, the Refuse Division, the Parks Department, a variety of city services to board up buildings, clean up alleys, make sure that the streetlights are working, and really restore some normalcy and sustainability to that neighborhood. So it's really to use a term in law enforcement, a weed and seed approach, that we've gone in and weeded out a significant amount of criminal element, a significant amount of misbehavior, and then follow it up with some sustainability and some efforts on the city's part. And it really shows some of the options and some of the leverage that we can have as we move into local control. It was a very easy conversation with the mayor's office. They were on board 100% to put those resources into that neighborhood as we left. So as police transition out and move to other hotspots, that area is still getting attention, and hopefully we'll be able to sustain some of the progress that we've made there. Talked about homicides. Homicides spread throughout the city. As you can see, compared to previous years, experienced an increase in North Patrol. That's where we're focusing in the 6th District, our next targeted hotspot. Robberies throughout the city. Again, as you see, 2012 to 2013 is below the 5-year average. Again, just for reference, if you look at crime month to month, it doesn't paint a true picture. But when you look at a 5-year average, our 5-year average for robberies, our current comparison remains below the 5-year average. Aggravated assaults, we saw last year a spike in aggravated assaults. We're working to keep that number down. Again, we're trending below the 5-year average. Except for early in the year last year when Chief Isom initiated some of the Homicide Deterrent Initiative activities to bring those numbers down, and we're going to continue to drive aggravated assaults down with our strategies. Larcenies is a challenge that we've talked about. I mentioned already. We saw a significant uptick in larcenies in January. Again, it seemed to be focused around license plates, some copper theft, and we are working with businesses like gas stations like Shop and Save, like Schnucks, to help understand better why they have we've seen an increase in shoplifting and drive-off gas thefts. So we're working with those establishments to institute things like prepaying for gas and working with them to put in better practices to avoid some of the shoplifting thefts. Captain Mike Deba and Captain Bill Swiderski are taking the charge on that, and I'm very interested in their outcomes. And that's the crime report for the first month of January of 2013. While we've seen some challenges, again, perspective in the 5-year that we're down, and we're comparing to historic lows in January of 2012. And January 13 is the second lowest, only compared to last year. So any questions about the crime report?
Anybody have any questions? And I think I would like to take a second just to tell you that I think the initiatives that have started since the beginning of the year I think have been, the notion that people that live in College Hill feel as though a police department is helping them take a neighborhood back, I think is, I just think it's great for the city, so you're to be commended.
Thank you. Thank you. The next item is a gun buyback program. One of the things that the department has done over time in 2007 and 2008 were to initiate gun buyback programs. And those programs were done with asset forfeiture dollars. And I think that those programs have value. As I've said publicly, that the proliferation of guns in some neighborhoods and illegal guns in the hands of criminals are problematic. Anytime we have an opportunity to take guns off the street, I'm absolutely 100% for it. The challenge is in financial times is to how to prioritize department dollars, asset forfeiture dollars for those programs. So right now we are working with the mayor's office to solicit funds from private donors to do a gun buyback program. The first contribution is going to come from Doug Albrecht in the amount of $10,000. And then hopefully over the coming weeks and coming months, I'll be able to put together other donations to the tune of around $50,000, at which point we will initiate a gun buyback program. Just to give you a reference, in 2007, more than 500 guns were taken off the street through a gun buyback program, and in 2008, 997 guns were taken off the street through a gun buyback program. I think these programs have value, but again, in financial times, difficult financial times, prioritizing department dollars is the challenge. That's why I think donations from private citizens and businesses would help us towards that end. So I'm asking to accept the first of donation from Doug Albrecht in the amount of $10,000 for a gun buyback program.
So moved.
Second.
Second. And Chief, this is Doug Albrecht, the head of the St. Louis Police Foundation, but he has been very generous through that organization, correct?
It is, and this is a personal donation from Doug and not the Police Foundation.
All right. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Update on our building at 1915 Olive. Last month, we discussed the progress on 1915, the new home of the new police headquarters for the Metropolitan Police Department. And prior to leaving, Lieutenant Colonel Reagan was overseeing the project. Today, I thought it was important to have an update to the board on the status and our expected benchmarks as we move forward. I want to recognize the team here on the police department and the team in the city that is working on this project now, and it's our purchasing director, Carol Shepard, Lieutenant John Carnegie, who is in special projects, Paul Sharkey, our facilities manager, and the newest addition to the team is Rich Bradley, the president of the Board of Public Service in the city of St. Louis. Together, they are overseeing the bid process, and once the bids are back, will oversee the construction and the move-in process. So I would ask, I think John and Paul and Rich are going to do the presentation to give you an update of where we are, what's going on with the building, and then answer any questions that you have. So thank you.
Good morning, Colonels. Good morning. Mayor.
Good morning.
As the Chief said, this morning we will be providing you an update and progress report on the department's new headquarters at 1915 Olive. I will be providing you updates on the design history of 1915 Olive, the furniture that has been acquired for the building, the phone and data systems, and our telecommunications tower. Mr. Paul Sharkey, who's the Director of Facilities, will provide updates on the previous work that's been done on the building, the building's floor plans, other building information, and the schedule for the building, along with the parking at the new building. And Mr. Richard Bradley, President of the Board of Public Service, will discuss the Board of Public Services involvement with the project. And this is just a picture of the new building at 1915 Olive, new headquarters. And just to go back a little bit and answer a question that's frequently asked, the question being, why are we moving in the first place? And the reason for that goes back a bit to May of 2009, where William Tao and Associates, which is an engineering firm, was hired by the department to conduct a facilities analysis of this building. And they concluded that it would cost approximately $70 million to correct all the deficiencies and bring this building up to code requirements. So as a result of that, a search for an alternative solution was initiated. And that resulted in the acquisition of the building at 1915 Olive. On January 21st, 2011, the department purchased a building located in 1915 Olive from Wells Fargo for $2.7 million. 1915 Olive was built in 1988 and later acquired by A.G. Edwards at the height of the tech boom, where it was upgraded to a first-class training facility. Even though the building has been vacant the past 10 years, it's been very well maintained, including all of its systems. It has 143,000 square feet of open and efficient office space. It's designed with 4 floors of covered parking and 4 floors of office space. And in addition to that, the current plans call for some build-out on the first floor. In regards to the history of the design and construction of the building, began in October 2011, the St. Louis Police Foundation was hired by the Lawrence Group, a local St. Louis architectural firm, to complete the design-build documents for the building. In April of 2012, those completed design-build documents, referred to as the 30% drawings, were issued by the Board of Public Services for bid services. In June of 2012, the American Institute of Architects sent a letter of complaint to the City Board of Public Service indicating that state statute restricts government and city agencies from issuing design-build contracts. So as a result of that, that contract was canceled. That same month, in June of 2012, the Lawrence Group was retained by the St. Louis Police Foundation to finish the bid documents, referred to as the construction documents, or the 90% drawings. And in January of this year, those completed construction documents were forwarded to the Board of Public Service for bid. Cost estimates for the construction of the building are approximately $5.7 million. Now I'd like to address some of the other key components of the project, the first being furniture. Approximately 95% of the furniture for the new building has been purchased. And it's currently, it was inventoried and is currently being stored on the 6th floor of the building. A furniture designer has been contracted with the department to place all our purchased furniture in each of the divisions. Those meetings began on February 5th of this year with the Bureau of Investigation and are still in progress and will continue until we go through all the units in the police department. Further along in the process, a furniture refurbisher and cleaner will be contracted to prepare the furniture for installation. This is a picture and a sample, an example of the workstations that will go into the new building. These will go to all commissioned and civilian employees. The only difference may be a change in the height of the panels or the size, slight change in the size of the cubicle itself due to the particular needs of any one unit in the department. And this is a photo of wardrobes that will go along with all the workstations for the detectives who are working in the building. This picture shows a sample of the chairs and seating that was acquired to go with all the workstations. This is a photo of the private office furniture for the private offices, and this furniture will go into commissions officers with the rank of captain and above will receive this furniture, and also to the civilian directors. And this is just a photo of some of the other furniture that has been acquired, some soft seating, chairs, and the top picture over there shows a sample of all the 4-door lateral file cabinets that were acquired. We've acquired over approximately 250 of those. In addition, I'd also like to mention that the department has received a substantial amount of quality donated furniture, and we continue to take that and seek any avenue we can to acquire any furniture that we could use. In regards to the phones and data systems, the data and telecommunication systems will operate as a converged system. A new phone system will be purchased for the building at 1915 Olive. The system that was approved earlier in this meeting will be purchased from Tech Electronics. Also, a new data center and network infrastructure will be purchased, and both of those contracts have also been approved earlier this meeting. The vendors for those are Murphy Construction and Dell. During our move to the new building, dual data systems will be used to ensure the shortest amount of time of computer outage. And in regards to our communications tower, currently, as you're aware, or may not be aware, the tower is located on the top of this building, our current headquarters at 1200 Clark. And obviously, with the decommissioning of this building, a new location will have to be found for the tower. The planned location for that is the parking lot between our communications building and the police academy. And currently, we are in negotiations with counsel, an actual tower attorney who specializes in those type of contracts, and a vendor for a no-cost solution to construct the tower at that location. Well,
there are two items that have been completed so far with 1950, and one is new roofs have been placed on the headquarters building itself and the new generator building, which is across the street. The roofs included the flashing, the trim, the scuppers, and new doors from the penthouse area to the roofs that are covering the 7th floor. This was done at a cost of little less than $308,000, and that has been completed. Another thing that's been completed is all of the electrical systems have been tested, including a 4-hour load test on the emergency generator. That has all been completed, and the electrical system's in just great shape, and that was at a cost of $42,260. What I'd like to do now, and if you don't mind, I'm going to stand behind. It's too hard to see up there. Is to go through the floor plans of each of the floors. This is obviously the first floor. When you enter, you will go through a security area. The public will then go through the fallen officer memorial area over to the human resources area or the records check area. This will be our credit union. This is warrant fugitive. And if you remember, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday down in the lobby, we have all of our sex offenders that come and register. Now they won't come in the building. They will actually come in a separate door that will come into that room, and they will actually go out of the room. They will never actually come in the building. And this is dying. So.
Now, this is the first floor of
Yes.
the building, after the 4th floor, after the parking?
No, ma'am. This is
At the ground level?
This is the
Okay,
ground
this is the
level.
build out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
This is off
gotcha.
the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. This will actually be the build-out area. The motorcycle parking will be in this area, and then obviously the rest of it will just be parking. This is the 4th floor. Every floor has a little lobby area in the beginning on the 4th floor. This is sex, crime, dark. Their entire area here. This is all homicide, including 5 interview rooms here. Fraud, cybercrime is in this general area. This room here is the only room that's on the 4th floor. That's where the fiber will be connected. Every room, every floor has got a telephone distribution room that is stacked on top of one another. There are 4 holding cells on the 4th floor. There are 2 additional interview rooms. This is bomb and arson. Addendum 1 is due to be issued soon. When Addendum 1 is issued, you will find that the K-9 office and storage will be moved to here. This area will now, this is all intel. This warrant fugitive area that is here will be moved to the 6th floor. So all of this area will be intel. This is emergency planning. This is the SWAT lieutenant, SWAT sergeants, RDU and traffic, MXAP, report writing, roll call room, accident reconstruction, traffic, RDU, and this is for the new major for support ops. The 5th floor, again, the lobby area. This is telephone reporting, crime analysis, facilities. This is all IT. This is all lab, ID, latent print area. This is the other half of the records. Planning and research, and CALIA. The areas in gray here are unassigned areas. This is unassigned. on the 5th floor because on the 6th floor is the cardio room right above it. So we specifically did not put anything under that roof. This is the 6th floor. The 6th floor, if you remember, was the floor that the academy was going to go on. Most of the 6th floor is empty. There is a large training room here. This room will be used for all the audiovisual equipment that will support the training room. This is the mail room. This is just a large break area with tables and TVs. This area is asset forfeiture. This room here is the new room for a warrant fugitive that was moved from the 4th floor up to this room. That'll come out in addendum 1. This is the cardio room, women's locker room, and men's locker room. This is the 7th floor, again the lobby, command post when you first come in on the 7th floor. This is the chief's area. These were the 2 offices for the board president and the board chief of staff. All of the bureaus are in this area here. B of I is here, professional standards, auxiliary services, community policing, executive boardroom, large boardroom. This is community outreach and public information, human resources, purchasing, legal, foundation room, audit advisory, IAD, budget and finance, and operational planning. Questions?
What do you mean the foundation room?
The St. Louis Police Foundation has a room for their meetings, an office for their meetings, yes, sir. Now we're going to talk about some of the building information. These are the boundaries of the new building. Olive Street to the south, 20th Street to the west, 19th Street to the east, and then alley to the north. Just for your information, we have talked to the city. When we occupy this building, we are going to block 19th Street just north of our alley, and we're going to block the alley just east of our emergency generator building. So when you turn off of 19th Street, there's nowhere to go except to a police building function. For the buildings division, this is significant for us because this is the dock, and we have 2 dock doors, and we have deliveries. Now we have an alley downstairs. It's very congested and very difficult. So for us, this is a big deal. For anybody else, not a big deal, but for us, it's a big deal. Just a picture of the elevators. There's 2 passenger elevators and a freight elevator. The passenger elevators have a clear glass to the south. Another big thing for all of us, this is the emergency generator that will power the entire building at 100% capacity. It's got a 4,000 gallon tank, and we should be able to run for about 44 hours under full load. This is the penthouse, and again, for the facility people, this is significant from what we have to what we're going to. This is all the mechanical systems, and this is part of the electrical systems. This is the schedule for the building. As John said earlier, the plans have been completed and the bid is out. We expect the bid to be back on the 5th of March, which is 2 weeks from yesterday. On or about the 15th of May, the Board of Public Service will issue the notice to proceed. Once the NTP has been issued, the contractor will have 270 days to complete it, which puts us to about the middle of February for the project complete. And again, the middle of February, so we can start moving. The biggest question, parking. Parking is an issue here. Parking will be an issue there. We have 270 spots inside. We will lose some of those to the first floor build out. There's some structural steel that has to be placed in the basement. There's also 63 surface lot spots. We will also lose some of those to visitor parking. This is the large southern lot. This is Olive here. That's the north lot. This is where the emergency generator is. There are 229 police cars that will be at that building and 515 people. So parking will still be an issue. I'll be followed by Mr. Bradley.
Thanks, Paul. I'd just like to talk for a little bit about the Board of Public Service involvement. The Board of Public Service is the engineering, architecture, and contracting agency for the City of St. Louis. And we have worked with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department on the headquarters building since the beginning. We provided technical assistance and peer review throughout the process, working with the architectural group of the Lawrence Group to assure that we have tight documents and we get the best bid possible, and to also make sure that the building in its end form meets the needs of the St. Louis Police Department. The construction bid was led by the Board of Public Service and is due on March the 5th. That is a public bid opening in room 208 on March the 5th at 1:45 in the p.m. We hope that we had a successful pre-bid meeting last week. We had a number of prospective bidders attend that pre-bid meeting, and so we feel very good that the competition will be good with the economic environment at hand. The Board of Public Service will manage the construction of this project, and so what that means is that we're going to assure quality, cost control, and that the project stays on schedule and is completed on time. The February 2014 timeframe are 270 calendar days, as Paul noted previously. Other things that we'll do is manage all contractual issues throughout the project. Some of those things that we will manage will include the Mayor's Executive Order number 28, which is minority and women-owned business goals. And this project, since it is over a $1 million public works improvement project, will also have labor and workforce requirements included in the contract documents. The Board of Public Service will also continue its coordination and communication with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department to ensure a successful project. We will hold regular progress meetings and update them on schedule, cost, and other issues that may arise during the construction of this project. The board will also work with the police department on the relocation of the property custody facility. Currently, property custody is within this building, and it has been determined that the property custody cannot go in the new building on Olive Street. We have preliminarily determined that property custody will be placed in the Gibson facility. That facility is currently a 14,000-foot facility. We've determined that we need approximately 25,000 square foot of space for property custody, so the building will require an addition at some point, which will require engineering and architectural drawings, construction management, and all the things that we're doing with the Olive Street building. The Board of Public Service will also assist the police department with the tower relocation, the fiber communications, and the decommissioning of the existing headquarters building here on Clark Street. And when I say decommissioning, I just want to make a mention of some of the things we're talking about. Be disconnecting some of the existing electric and steam lines which feed the ancillary facilities adjacent, such as the lab building, such as the academy building. There'd be a physical separation of the lab building from this building. There'd be surplusing of the furniture that was remaining in this building, and our goal would be to prepare this building to be put out on the street for an RFP for a prospective bidder to take and use for a future use. Finally, what I would like to do is to thank Chief Dotson and his staff, and particularly the Chief for his leadership with this project and allowing the Board of Public Service to partner with him and his staff to accomplish this total project, which, as you can see, is quite a bit more than simply renovating a building on Olive Street. We have a package. We have to complete all these items in order to finish the package, and we're going to be committed to do that and work with the Chief staff to make that happen.
Rich, I have a question. It's probably a little late and a little redundant, but the challenge by the architects on design-build, Highway 40 was a design-build project run by a public agency. Were they specifically exempted, or how did, I mean, that was a design-build project?
Yeah, basically what happened there is the state statutes on design-build are very murky. They specifically call out Missouri Highway Department. They specifically call out MSD. The City of St. Louis has successfully utilized the design-build process on many occasions. However, when the challenge was called to us, we thought the most expedient way to get the police in the new building was to go to a design bid build and not get into a legal battle fighting the process. So again, we believe that we can still do design build. We just wanted to expedite this process.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Mayor. Any outstanding funding issues?
Currently, we're working with the foundation to address those. We will have a much clearer picture after March 5th when the bid comes back. As the board is aware, we have a $3 million commitment from the Police Foundation. About $600,000 of that has already been expended. We have asset forfeiture funds committed to the project as well as city bond funds. So there are three funds sourcing this project. Until we get the final documents back, I won't be able to answer that question completely. We also know that there will be an additional shortfall when we start to talk about the Gibson move for property custody. But again, when we have a complete picture of the total cost, I'll be able to present financials to the board about where we are and what shortfalls we need to cover.
Anybody else? Okay. Chief?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as the board can see, this is a full-time project for Lieutenant Carnegie, for Paul Sharkey, and for Carol. And I really want to compliment Rich Bradley and his staff on really coming to our assistance and helping us with this project. We're very appreciative of Rich, and as we start to understand the funding ramifications and the use of city dollars. But again, as we move forward, this is local control, and I think BPS will have a significant role to play in the police department as we move forward. So thank you, Rich. Thank you very much. Now we'll move to the budget. In your packet is a copy of the first pass at the department's budget, and I will step through a couple of points of interest and then answer any questions that you have. The city's overall preliminary allocation to the department increased by $5.1 million, or that's 3%, from last year's $171.7 million to a $176.8 million allocation this year. The allocation covers both the department's operating cost as well as the associated costs with the police retirement system. For perspective, we saw an increase of $5.1 million in allocation. The projected police retirement system related costs have risen by $6.2 million for the upcoming year. So that is a net loss already. As we step through some of the other inflationary costs and the costs of doing business in the police department that I wanted to highlight, civilian and commission salaries are $1.2 million higher due to maintaining a commission staffing level of 1,265 officers. What we've seen are the last 20 officers that are being transitioned from a federal grant to the department funded. So our police staffing number will stay at 1,265, or projected for the upcoming year. We're going to see an increase in buyout cost for retirement and sick time benefits of $572,000. A couple of years ago, the department initiated a program which allowed retirees to spread retirement costs out over multiple years, taking their lump sums, their buyback lump sums over 3 years. We're in the second year of that, so we're seeing an increased cost of that. We saw some savings up front. Now we're just playing catch up. No increased cost to the department, but the costs were spread out over multiple years. Overtime costs for the department have risen by $270,000. We've budgeted to reflect that actual increase this year. It's important to note that using overtime funds is a force multiplier for us. Using overtime funds allows us to put officers on the street at a slightly lesser cost than it would be to hire officers, because obviously the benefit costs are already incorporated into their primary salaries. So that increase I see as a positive and as a force multiplier. We'll talk about healthcare in specifics in a minute when there's a specific agenda item, but I will talk about healthcare insurance costs. For FY 2014, the upcoming budget year, healthcare and costs will increase by $5.35 million. There are a couple of factors that are figured into that. At the beginning of last budget year, at this time last year, we were able to carry forward some money from the previous budget year and pay $3.7 million in expenses. That reduced our liabilities in that budget year. And then this year, and again, I said we'll talk about it in a minute, we've seen a 9.9% increase in our health care costs. That translates to $1.62 million. That's to maintain virtually the same level of coverage that we have for our active and retirees, with some very slight modifications, and we'll discuss those in a minute. If we are able to carry forward balances from this year, if through efficient budgeting, through savings, we could potentially pay down our health care expense. We're in negotiation and conversation with the city about doing that. Anything that we can take from this year to prepay next year's expenses is always beneficial. We've talked about the increases in the police retirement system. We're also seeing a $428,000 increase in the employee retirement system. That's our civilian employees. And then in the budget, if you've noticed, there is a $1.14 million line item in the public safety supply account. Currently, the sidearms that the department uses, the 92 series Beretta pistols, 9mm, are no longer manufactured by Beretta. Our inventory of Berettas is shrinking as we put new officers through the academy. As guns go offline for service, there needs to be a decision about purchasing new sidearms, and we are currently engaged in that conversation with the Armory and the Police Officers Association. No decision has been made, but certainly as we get closer, the conversation will be brought to the board. But for budgeting purposes, there's a placeholder there. Fleet has requested 163 new vehicles that be allocated in this upcoming budget for $3.2 million. As a reference, that's about 20% of our fleet. We have 720 vehicles in our fleet at varying stages of mileage and use. Between doing police work and accidents, we lose several cars a year that are totaled, so this is to replace those totaled cars as well as vehicles that are well in excess of 100,000 miles. This is a maintenance item and something that we need to have in the budget. And I'd close on the budget by saying that this year is not dissimilar than any previous years. The budget remains a work in progress. The department is working with the budget director and the comptroller's office along with the mayor's office to come up with a budget that reflects the department's desire to do the best possible job that we can in the city and to maintain the highest staffing. Again, 1,265 officers is where we'd like to stay. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the budget.
I'd just like to make a comment and say I want to thank you, Chief, and your staff as well for working with us on this. This is, as you know, having worked over in City Hall, this is our #1 budget priority, and we want to make sure that the men and women of this department have the resources necessary to support you when you're out there protecting our neighborhoods. The challenges are not new. This is about the revenues are coming. We're giving more money to the department, but more money is being distributed to the pension costs, and it's something that impacts the entire city government. So what we're trying to do is, and as some of you in this room know, we have been meeting with the police retirement system representatives and other representatives of the department in my office to come to a framework of an agreement that we can work together on so that we can address the skyrocketing cost in a way that is, it makes sense, that it's fair to the men and women of the department, will not unduly impact what men and women of this department expect and deserve, and at the same time give us the resources we need to support this department in every other respect as well. I know that with this new budget that's before us here today, we're still working to see what else we can do. It's still early, but with this new budget, this department's budget's gone up by 49% since 2001. That's almost a 50% increase. I don't know if any other department can say that that's happened. So we want you to know this is, and I know that when the money goes into the pension funds, which everybody was promised and they expect, that does impact the department as well. When the pension costs went up this fiscal year by $8.3 million, and we gave the department $8 million more, that only left $300,000 to cover everything else. And as you know, other costs have gone up, fuel costs go up. Been some modest pay increases through the the matrix, and there's been other costs like healthcare costs go up as well. So as long as we have these pension costs really sucking all the money, it's going to make it that much more challenging to do what we need to do for this department in terms of personnel, in terms of other things we need to do. And just to give another snapshot of what's gone on, when I took office in 2001, our total pension costs for the City of St. Louis for all three systems was $6.4 million. This year, it's $95 million. In the next fiscal year budget, it'll be higher than that. It'll be over $100 million. That is more money that's gone into the pension systems than the total new revenues that we've taken in during that period of time. And of course, other costs have gone up as well. I mean, this is the reality we're faced with. This is not something that's easy to talk about, and certainly nothing that's fun to do when we're sitting down looking at the budget and what we're going to do for this department. I want to support this department every way I can, and we've demonstrated that by making sure that this department's budget's gone up as much as any, in fact, by far more than any other department except maybe the fire department, and that's another issue that we're working on as well. So I just want everybody to know, and I know it's tough, and it's something that is no fun for all of us, but working together, admitting that there's an issue and trying to resolve it is the best approach, and that's the attack I want to take and what I'm going to continue to take. And I think working together we will find a resolution of this issue in a way that will benefit this department long term and will support the men and women of this department the way they need to be supported. You need to be paid more money, and when the money, all the money goes into the pension system, that makes it very, very difficult. So we're going to continue working with your leadership. We hope that we will get an agreement that we can take to the, and I know we have a framework of one now that I'm very, very optimistic about. We can take it up to the legislature, hopefully get it passed, come back here. We can get back to business, and we can start doing things we need to do for this department we haven't been able to do in a long time. So I do want to thank all of you for your patience, but most importantly, I just want to thank you for your service to this city. There's nothing more that frustrates me than when we're sitting down at the budget table and we're trying to do all we can to make this department better, support you everywhere we need to be, and we get another bill from the pension system saying, well, you got to write us another check for $6 million, like is what's going on this year for one system. So I just want to make the comment. I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you for the work you do. And I'm going to bat for you. We're going to bat for you. The chief's working with us as well to make sure we address this in a way that we can get this issue behind us and start moving this department forward. Thank you, Chief, and thank you to the board as well.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I'd ask for a motion to accept this preliminary budget. We have a requirement to submit a budget to the city by the end of February, with the caveat that negotiations and conversations will continue, and I will bring back a final product in March or April.
I so move.
Second?
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Next item is Bureau Realignment and Overlay Initiative. As we transition into hotspot policing as the way that we do business in the police department, we've looked around the department and realized that in some of our activities we're siloed. And what I mean by that is that we have two bureaus that are responsible for enforcement activities, the Bureau of Community Policing and the Bureau of Investigation and Support. We have two bureaus that are responsible for the administration of the department, the Bureau of Professional Standards and the Bureau of Auxiliary Services. In order to make the information flow better, in order to make our ability to address problems better, I'd like to make three recommendations. The first one is to reassign units to the Bureau of Community Policing that are currently housed in the Bureau of Investigation and Support. And those units are the Rapid Deployment Unit, the Narcotics Unit, the Violent Offenders Unit, the Anti-Crime Task Force, DEA Task Force, our SWAT Unit, and the Aviation Unit. Moving those into community policing will give solely the proactive daily activities, boots-on-the-ground officers to one deputy chief, Larry O'Toole, and it'd be his responsibility to take our hotspot policing strategies along with those officers and some of the things that we'll talk about in a minute, and really focus in neighborhoods. And so College Hills, the initiative we did there, won't be the exception, it'll be the norm, and that we will be more quickly able to adjust, identify problems, and move in that direction. So that's the first part of the recommendation. The second one is we look around the department and look at those units that have investigative functions, that have support functions, that are currently housed in community policing. I'd like to move one of those to Bureau of Investigation. And that's the detectives currently assigned to the Special Operations Unit who serve in the capacity as juvenile detectives, that they be reassigned from their current assignment to criminal investigations and support. There are about a dozen officers and supervisors there that every day go out into the schools and deliver a message. I see that message being better handled in investigation and support. Long-range strategies, programs like the GREAT program, the DARE program, not necessarily an operational day on, day in, day out, but a more centralized thought process. Currently, they're spread out. They were spread out among the 3 areas. I'd like to re-centralize them and bring them. There's a lot of synergy that happens, a lot of information sharing between schools. I see that as a function going into investigative, Bureau of Investigation and support. And then the third piece, which is really going to get to the point and the crux of what we're trying to do, is that we initiate a pilot program in Districts 3, 4, and 6 to measure the effectiveness of sustained police pressure and intelligence-based policing, and that at the end of 6 months, that pilot program be assessed by the Assistant Chief of Police, Al Atkins, and the Deputy Chief of Community Policing, Larry O'Toole, to determine if those types of strategies have a significant impact on crime. And in the arts, you'll see a series of metrics that I'd like to measure that include, are we able to decrease crime, which is our #1 mission? Does that strategy effectively reduce crime? Does it decrease response time in those pilot areas? Something that I always want to make sure is that when citizens call 911, that we're there and we're there quickly. Evaluation of calls for service. Does it change the number of calls for service that we have? Does it change the amount of time we spend on a call for service? And then, and that was the fourth one, evaluate the time that we spend out of service on calls. So I'd ask that the board approve those 3 recommendations to happen over the next 30 days. I think these things need to happen. We're in the process of looking at vehicles. We're looking at space. We're looking at the transition. I'd like approval to do this over the next 30 days.
I so move.
I second. I do have a question. Chief, I imagine that this would cause some changes in schedules for many officers. Will you be able to try to give notice so that they can make adjustments in their lifestyles and family commitments?
It does, and two points to that. One, over the next 30 days allows us to gradually transition into that so lifestyles of officers, family commitments aren't interrupted. And it also, I want to stick up for the officers a little bit if I can. The officers in these specialized units realize that their mission is critical and that they are very open to changing hours and addressing problems when they come up. So we do give as much advance notice as we can, but if there is a problem that develops, these units are extremely flexible in their job description and in their activities. So yes, we'll give as much notice as we can, but these are very good units that are very flexible.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Now we'll move to medical and dental plan recommendations for FY13, FY12, or 12, 13, and 14. I'm sorry. Each year, the department reviews our health care plans. This is our second year contract with United Healthcare, and that contract had a maximum rate cap of 18%. That's the bad news. They could have gone up 18%. They didn't. They came in with a rate change of 9.9%. And then with some adjustments in the plan that are very minor, it will go down to 7.9%. Every insurance carrier is passing along around a 2% universal health care premium onto their contracts. So the net increase for our health care will be 9.9%. Or $1.6 million. I'm sorry, $1.3 million. $1.3 million. Because healthcare impacts our employees, because healthcare is something that is very personal to our employees, we convened a benefits committee. We sat down with representatives of the Police Officers Association, the Ethical Society of Police, the leadership group, and our civilian employees, and stepped through the proposals that United Healthcare had, so everyone would understand what the increase entailed, and with some slight plan modifications, we were able to save an additional $300,000. When we offered it up for comment at the meeting, very little conversation. Our employees understood it. And just to give an idea, if you look at page 3 of the attachment, individuals that currently accept the base plan, there will be no increase to their health care. They still receive free health care from the department. That affects about 301 individuals that work for us. Individuals that participate in the buy-up plan at the individual level is 884. Their biweekly increase is $2.37. The increases for family and spouse coverage are a little bit more, but for our employees, our base employees, if you take the base plan, there is no cost. If you take the buy-up plan, which is 884 of our 1,800 employees, $2.37 every 2 weeks. So I'd ask the board to accept the recommendations that United Healthcare medical and prescription drug coverage be extended, and that Delta Dental, who had no rate increase, be extended for FY 13-14.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mayor?
I just want to make a clarification. So the additional cost to the budget is what for this year for the health care?
$1.3
million.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Next item are private security. Renewal of an instructor agreement with Washington University Police Department. Washington University Police Department and the Board of Police Commissioners enter into agreement to provide impact weapon, baton, pepper spray, and tactical handcuffing and control techniques for security officers employed by Washington University.
I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is a renewal of an instructor training agreement with Barnes Jewish and St. Louis Children's Hospitals. Recommended that the board enter into a training agreement with Barnes Jewish and St. Louis Children's Hospital to provide impact weapon, handcuff control techniques, and to their security officers.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item I is a promotional process vendor. In June of 2012, the board approved the firm CWH Research as a provider of police officer to sergeant testing process for promotions. Subsequent to that approval, but prior to the execution of the contract, CWH, who had an existing contract for the lieutenant to captain process, provided a product that had errors in it, and it questions the integrity and the final result of the process. CWH came and spoke to the board and talked about their clerical errors, but it raised significant questions about the process and if CWH was capable of performing. Promotions are very personal to the police officers and sergeants. Promotional process is very important to the agency. The fact that there were errors in their final product that were disseminated not only to the department and the board, but to the individual participants, raised a question of the entire process overall, along with some other issues that should have been addressed through the process that weren't. So the recommendation is because of those errors in the clerical process and the testing process, that CWH be disqualified as the vendor for the police officer to sergeant process, and that contract be awarded to E.B. Jacobs, who was the second lowest bidder at a difference of about $5,000.
Discussion? Motion?
Move for approval.
I'll second it. I have a question, though.
Yes.
The one question I have is that there was an existing list for sergeants, right? I mean, it's been out there for a while. So that disappears and start all over again.
That would be the second phase. Once E.B. Jacobs or whomever, if we decide to stay with CWH Research or we move to E.B. Jacob, once that decision is made, we will sit down with the vendor and talk about what the actual process looks like and what a timeline looks like. I will tell you by our processes, it is about a 6-month process from once we sign a contract and initiate the reading list. At that point, I will come back with a recommendation to the board what to do with that existing list and the details and specifics of the process. The current list for police officer to sergeant expires at the end of June of this year. So we will have a conversation. I'll bring back a recommendation whether to extend the current list or to go for some period without a list based on when we will have a list available to us. But I wanted to select a vendor and have a conversation with that vendor first.
Has the police department worked with E.B. Jacobs before? Are you familiar with them? And
They have, yes. And E.B. Jacobs throughout the industry, although they're detractors to every company, E.B. Jacobs in the industry from a management perspective has a very good reputation of having a test that is balanced and one that's defensible if there are challenges to it. So E.B. Jacobs has a very strong reputation.
So basically, they probably lost out in the last bidding process because of cost.
That's correct. Yes, I believe that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
And Mark, you've got that, one abstention?
The next is item J, Crime Analysis Unit Organizational Table and Pay Schedule. The Crime Analysis Unit has quickly become a mainstay in the police department. Any captain, I think that if you ask any captain, they will tell you that the Crime Analysis Unit pays benefits far beyond anybody's expectations. Crime analysis are the ones that help us refine and develop our strategies. They help us provide data-driven results and to quantify if we're successful or not. What is being recommended is that over time, I'll start from the beginning. The Crime Analysis Unit was placed in operation in July of 2007 with a structure consisting of 3 analysts, a police officer, and a lieutenant. Since 2007, their structure has changed, and upon reflection of that, there needs to be additional layers and analysts that are layered in there to actually provide the quality of product that the officers on the street need to focus resources into not only hotspots but into specific crimes like larcenies, aggravated assaults. It really provide a picture, and sometimes a very detailed picture of what some of those offenders look like, some of the offenders' patterns and habits. It's a very beneficial unit. The CAU, Crime Analysis Unit, regularly performed in the beginning very basic analysis and mapping for the department, and it only required an understanding of Microsoft Excel and some very basic ArcGIS programs. Since then, the unit's responsibilities have grown, and now they're required to produce much more sophisticated analysis with not only a knowledge of Excel and ArcGIS, but a variety of analytical programs, as well as SQL language skills. So the job has really evolved, and this is, as we're progressing and doing intelligence-based policing, targeting our resources, this is an investment that is a force multiplier. So the recommendation is that the position of Crime Analysis Manager be upgraded to an 11E Step 3, $58,348, an increase of $4,459, and that one of the crime analyst positions be upgraded to Crime and Intelligence Analyst 10E Step 3, $51,645, an increase of $4,004, and that analyst Lindsay Mayer be moved into the position. The total cost of this is $8,463, but again, I believe, and I believe the captains would support it, that this is a program that will pay dividends and is a force multiplier.
Motion?
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The next is a reclassification of a homicide administrative clerk position. The recommendation is that the homicide section job description of administrative clerk 4 non-exempt be reclassified to a secretary grade 5 non-exempt to more accurately and fairly reflect the job and duties expectations of the position. Also requested is the reclassification to take place as soon as possible. Again, this is fitting positions with the skill sets that are needed for those jobs. So I ask that, thank you.
We got a motion?
Second.
We got a motion, second. All those in favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
Still in the Bureau of Investigation and Support, this is a request for a job classification for sex crimes, child abuse, and DART section. Again, the same thing, that the sex crime, child abuse, DART section job description of administrative clerk, grade 4 non-exempt, be reclassified to secretary, grade 5 non-exempt, to more accurately reflect the job skills of the position.
I so move.
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Next is an addition of an authorized technical position for Information Technologies Division. As I started to look at the different programs that are going on in the department, in-car cameras, GPS, mobile ticketing, a variety of programs, I realized that one thing that the department was missing an opportunity was for the creation of an IT person positioned to manage those. Out of necessity, as those programs started, police officers, commissioned officers, had begun managing those. For example, a sergeant in the intelligence division now manages the in-car camera program. A sergeant in the community policing office manages the mobile ticketing program. GPS is in a pilot program, and it really hasn't found a significant champion yet. So in talking to Deli Oradugaba, the department's information technology director, his recommendation was to create one PC support technician 2 position whose responsibility will be to oversee these projects and manage these products. As we look at restructuring, there may be opportunities to take a commission position and eliminate it for this position, but right now I'm recommending that we add this position. The fiscal impact is estimated between $36,000 and $45,000 for hiring a one PC support technician 2 position to oversee these programs and technologies.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Earlier, when I talked about intelligence-led policing in the Bureau realignment, I didn't talk about the intelligence unit because I knew they had a program coming up. The intelligence unit represents an opportunity for the department to focus resources to support the district operations. The new commander of the intelligence unit, Lieutenant Angela Kuntz, in the month and a half that she's been there, has really done a tremendous job of expanding the role of the intelligence unit. What was 8 hours of coverage now is almost 20 hours of coverage with specific groups like the TAG group, which is a resource to the district officers, to the detectives, to help track cell phones, to help do other programs. So I really think that an investment in the intelligence unit is well placed. Lieutenant Kuntz came to me and talked about as technology has developed and the department has gone to programs like PeopleSoft and officers are more familiar with the internet and web-based programs that are report writing programs, that their need for a secretary in the intelligence unit has really outlived the productivity of it, and those monies could be better funneled towards a intel analyst. Just for reference, St. Louis County has several intel analysts. The Metropolitan Police Department has none in the intelligence unit. We only have analysts in the crime analysis unit. So the recommendation is that the board approve the restructuring plan for the intelligence unit to include the following changes. Removal of a secretary's position from the intelligence division. That individual that's currently occupying that space will be given an opportunity inside the department to apply for other jobs, and there are vacancies in those positions now. And that the addition of a civilian intelligence analyst position, grade 11E, with a starting salary of $50,000 be created, and that the manning table be adjusted to reflect those changes, along with bringing the gang unit back to a centralized commander. Currently, the gang unit, are up until January, the gang unit was spread between the 3 area stations with 2 in each of the area stations. And what we saw is that we know criminals cross district boundaries, city boundaries, state boundaries. The information sharing between the detectives that were focusing on gangs was not as strong as it could have been. So the recommendation is to bring those officers, those positions that are currently occupied in the special ops unit under intelligence, and that the special ops positions be eliminated. So the recommendation is to reduce the manning table of the special operations team to reflect the correct number of officers since the move of 1 sergeant and 9 officers from 334 assignment code to assignment code 210.
Chief, do we know the fiscal impact of this restructuring? I didn't see it in
the addition of the crime analyst, we're eliminating the secretary's position, which is about $40,000, and adding the $50,000 crime analyst position. The person that's occupying that position will be able to move to another one. So we'll eliminate a position at $40,000, add one at $50,000, and then the officers that are being reassigned already exist, and they're just being moved in a reporting structure.
Okay, so moved. Thank you.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item O, request to remove broken and unserviceable equipment from the laboratory division. It's requested, or the recommendation is that approval of a freezer and refrigerator freezer listed above be removed from the laboratory division's inventory, sold, destroyed, or offered for the purchasing division for use at a non-for-profit.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is P, 2013 Forensic DNA Backlog Grant Application. The request is that the Laboratory Division be given permission to participate in the application process as well as accept the 2013 Forensic DNA Backlog Reduction Grant funds if awarded by NIJ. The grant could be between $300,000 and $400,000.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is item Q, 2014 Missouri Crime Laboratory Upgrade Program Grant Permission to Apply. The recommendation is the laboratory be given permission to participate in the application process as well as accept the 2014 Crime Laboratory Upgrade Program grant funds if awarded by the Missouri Department of Public Safety. The grant could be $100,000.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
R, request to receive funds from Midwest HIDA. The recommendation is to approve the acceptance of grant funds from Midwest HIDA in the amount of $15,000 to cover lease expenses for our officers in specialized units.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is a request to receive grant funds for contract for youth seatbelt enforcement campaign funds. It's a small grant. It's $300 to be used between March 15th and March 31st by the Traffic Safety Division.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is T, crime laboratory changes to the evidence technician unit. As the department's lab has become ISO accredited, we've identified several areas for growth and improvement. One of them is to change what is currently 2 commissioned sergeant's positions in the lab and replace it with a civilian. There are a couple of benefits to that. Currently, the sergeant's position is vacant in the lab, so we're not moving. The position is vacant. What this does is it allows for continuity in the laboratory. As commissioned officers advance through their careers and apply for promotions and are promoted, they're typically transferred out of that assignment as they're promoted. It takes about a year to train an ETU sergeant to be able to do the job. The quality control does not require that the person reviewing those reports be a commissioned officer. It's certainly allowable that a civilian fill that position. And if you look on the second page of the ARTS, you'll see a comparison that a sergeant, just picking an average sergeant with 20 years, costs the department about $93,000 with benefits. By replacing that with a civilian position, grade 12, the savings, the cost is $86,000, so a savings of about $7,500. Again, it will keep the work product high, it'll keep the quality high, and it meets ISO accreditation standards.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item U is a request to apply for and later accept a motor carrier safety assistance grant. The recommendation is that the board approves and authorizes the MICSAP grant application be submitted to the Missouri Department of Transportation's Traffic and Highway Safety Division in order to help reduce commercial vehicle-involved crashes in the city of St. Louis. If awarded, the funding would be not to exceed $544,908.44. There's a 20% cost match for the department. Department pays 20%, MoDOT pays 80%.
I so move.
Second, and have a question, is the 20% already budgeted?
It is, yes, sir.
All right, motion second. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
The next is another request from the Traffic Safety Division. They approves and authorizes 3 grant applications to submitted to the Missouri Department of Transportation's Traffic and Highway Safety Division in order to conduct sobriety checkpoints, DWI saturations, and hazardous violation/speed enforcement in the city of St. Louis. Also, if awarded, the funding to accept and approve the contracts with the funding not to exceed the requested amounts of the application. The 3 applications are hazardous violations in the amount of $362,000, DWI enforcement in the amount of $189,000, and sobriety checkpoints in the amount of $25,200.
I so move.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
W, Metro Air Support Unit Contract and Asset Forfeiture Request. As the board is aware, the department participates in a partnership with St. Louis County and St. Charles County to support a 501c3 to keep helicopters in the air for coverage in those three jurisdictions. This is our annual funding request of $150,000 from asset forfeiture to meet our obligations for the daily operation of the unit.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item X, St. Louis Police Foundation, two items there. We've said it earlier, and I just want to reemphasize it, that the Police Foundation plays such an important role in the Metropolitan Police Department now, not only in helping us fund activities and equipment and projects that are outside of our scope and our ability to do through the normal budget process, but just from a morale perspective for the officers. So the foundation's good work is I can't say enough about it. So the first request is to accept 5 donations from the Police Foundation. The first is catering for meals for officers working holiday and holiday gatherings in the amount of about $30,000. The foundation funds Christmas parties as well as meals at the area stations on holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas for the officers that are away from their family. The second request is the Inertial Measurement Unit, which is a GPS-based technology for the aviation unit, which allows them to better track suspects from the air. 4 is and that's in the amount of $47,000. The next request is push bumpers for cars in the 4th District. The 4th District has more highways than any other district in the city. The $750 for the push bumpers would allow officers to more quickly and expediently clear accidents and help disabled motorists on the interstates. And the last item is anti-theft license plate screws in the amount of $3,000. That's an initiative that we're going to make available at each of the area stations to the public. They can come in and for $3 purchase a set of locking screws for their license plates in an effort that Colonel O'Toole initiated to try and curb the theft of license plates and license plate tabs. So that's one that the foundation is providing us seed money, and as citizens buy these sets for $3 each, we'll reinvest that money to keep our supply going.
When would the stations have it for purchase?
I'm going to tell you
When will the station have these screws for purchase?
I'm going to tell you they're already there.
Oh, they're done. Well, I need some.
So the recommendation is to approve, I'm sorry, I said 5, those 4 items.
Okay, thank you. I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The second item under X is a request from the foundation again to approve the acceptance of funding for the St. Louis Police Foundation to purchase 40 Sterin LED STR flashlights with AC chargers for the anti-crime unit.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the last item under my report is the Mounted Patrol has a long history in the Metropolitan Police Department. Visitors to Forest Park have commented and seen Mounted Patrol officers in Forest Park, and it's a very positive way for us to interact with the community. It also gives us dedicated resources to Forest Park during nicer weather, spring, summer, and fall, to help police, traffic control, and to look for criminal activity, mostly larcenies in the vehicle from vehicles in the park. The officers up high on the horses provide the officers a very good vantage point to see around. So this is a request to enter into an agreement with Forest Park Forever to pay up to $23,880 annually for Mounted Patrol, for horses, for veterinarian feed services for the horses to be paid in monthly increments of $1,990. And the agreement will start on July 1 of this year and end on June 30th of 2018.
So moved.
Second, and I have a question. It goes through 2018, but there are termination provisions, or early termination provisions.
Yeah, absolutely, there are. There are out clauses in the contract that if either party decides to readjust strategies or that the program is no longer working, we can get out of it, yes.
Very good.
Okay, any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. You didn't get the Z, but you came very close. All right, Mark.
Board Secretary's microphone has apparently been decommissioned ahead of the rest of the building. Item A concerns a proposed upgrade to a position within the board offices. Last September, the board approved a restructuring of the position that was then known as the Director of Purchasing, now as the Director of Procurement and Records Retention. As a result of that restructuring, some of the duties formerly done by that position were placed upon what up till now has been known as the purchasing agent. There was a request in recognition of those additional duties to upgrade that position to the title of purchasing manager and move it from a grade 10 exempt to a grade 11 exempt. The fiscal impact of this would be slightly over $2,200.
Any questions? You have a motion? I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Understood.
Thank you.
Item B concerns a proposed modification to the police manual. Specifically, this is section 9.002, subsection A, paragraph 5. As you know, we're always striving to be accredited through CALEA, which is the Commission on the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies. One of their standards apparently requires all police employees to display identification. So there was a request to revise this provision to essentially add a sentence that says commissioned officers not in full uniform and civilian employees will respond to requests to view department identification by displaying the requested item. So we would ask for approval of that revision.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item C concerns another proposed request for modification. This would be to the Police Manual Rule 1.402, subsection B, paragraph 2. Again, in order to comply with CALEA, right now, our rule says that our organizational chart is to be periodically reviewed. In order to comply with CALEA, it is required that there be an annual review. So the proposal is to change the language to provide for annual review in January of each year, and we would ask for that proposed modification to be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item D concerns proposed budget transfers. These transfers have been approved by the Chief of Police, and as you can see, they relate to security repairs for the undercover facility, a new track floor for the academy, and equipment for the lab. And so we would ask for those budget transfers to be approved.
So moved.
Second.
One comment, finally, we know where and why. I appreciate that. I haven't seen that before, so whoever put this together, you have my compliment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next regularly scheduled open board meeting shall be held on Wednesday, March 20, 2013, at Police Headquarters, 1200 Clark Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri. And the board intends to vote to go into a closed session at 8:00 a.m. on Wednesday, March 20, 2013, at Police Headquarters, 1200 Clark, to discuss matters of discipline, hiring, firing, promotion, litigation, causes for legal action, and confidential and privileged communications with legal counsel, with a closed record and a closed vote pursuant to Section 610.021 of the Missouri Revised Statutes.
We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.